Hi, Sam. How you doing? Thank you so much for getting your work turned in and complete and on time. Thank you so much. I've got a couple of comments. Well, obviously, I have a couple of comments I want to share with you. This is fantastic. This logo is just really, it's so dynamic, and it's weighted very nicely, and I just love it. I think it's really strong. The typeface that you've used is it's able to stand up to itself, so to speak. In other words, you've got two letters that are really showing strength. So you're really showing the strength in the form of the design behind the letter forms, and that's pretty cool. And I think the real surprise there is when you get to realize that that's an L for Lynn. That's really a nice little treat. I just love it. Okay. Now, one thing I want you to notice, and this is nothing that you've done, but I would take this and I would take this apart a little bit, and I would take a look at this, the relationship of the size of the S to the M. Now, listen, I know that they're identical. I know they're aligned, and that's great. But optically, the S looks smaller than the M. Now, we have this thing called overhang, and it's any curved letter. If you drop, let me just grab a guide. I'm going to drop it right there. And any curved letter, as you can see, that's the baseline with the M. Let me climb in here so you can see. So you can see where the M is resting on the baseline. Well, any curved letter should overshoot that baseline by a little bit, which means that you can increase the size of this M just a little bit, so that just so that optically it's going to look the same size. You can see right now it looks smaller than the M. And again, it's nothing you did. That's an optical illusion. It happens anytime you have a curved letter next to a letter that has a straight something that's aligning straight with the baseline. Okay, so fantastic job on that. Now, I think, as I said, I think that the typeface is great for your monogram. Not so great for your name, because it's difficult to read. It's a hard X height is really large. It's more of a decorative typeface. So I don't think it's good to place your name in the decorative typeface. I would change that and just keep in mind the relationship that it's going to have with this, since they're presumably going to be seen together. And I'll address that in a second, because we're eventually going to show that by itself. I'll talk about that in 1 second. So I would change that typeface and maybe try a sans serif. Just try to get the relationship really interesting there. You don't need to name graphic designer in your logo. I mean, you're promoting yourself and branding yourself as a graphic designer, so you don't need to include that. I wouldn't use that typeface for your heads either. Again, it's a more of a decorative typeface. So, all right, now I'm going to back down a little bit here. Now I just want to take a look at the letterhead. I think the letterhead itself is using too much. Excuse me. I think it's using. Oh, by the way, now that I back off here, I think the name itself is too big in comparison with it. This should be a little bit smaller in comparison with the size of the mark itself. Okay, now, again, I'm going to go back to my little box here. You know how I love these boxes. I'm going to draw this box, and I'm going to show you that, okay, you've got your head, then you've got your footer, okay? And then the area between, I think you're getting too close to the margins, okay? I'm going to draw something like that would be your playing area, your live playing area, as it were, okay? And that would hold the pertinent information in your letterhead, okay? And I think that might be a little too large, that whole composition right here. Play with the size of that. So, and you'll be able to see when you kind of work with what I'm talking about and kind of reformat this. Now, I'm going to talk about the content of the resume next week, because that's where we go through this. And I did, by the way, leave some stuff in here for you to get started on, for you guys who are interested in getting started a little bit early. Now, this we don't really get into till next week, but I did leave the ultimate graphic design tip sheet, resume tip sheet, and tips on writing your cover letter. So you'll want to take a look at those, as well as taking a look at the course lectures before continuing with your letterhead. But love the logo, love the monogram. I like the direction it's going. Black and white is very stark a lot of high contrast. It's kind of it's not very soothing or calming. So I just want you to keep that in mind. That as you're branding yourself in black and white, it's not subtle. Let's just leave it at that. It's not subtle. Okay, so as long as you realize that you're branding yourself in not what I would consider a subtle way. Okay, I don't know if I would go ahead and say it's aggressive, but it is definitely not passive. And that's just, think about your color usage. Okay, I'm just talking about basic color and contrast. Okay, I don't think I would use a paper that had a black back. I think that's a mistake. I think black on the inside of the envelope is a mistake. I think that black on the card is okay. If you want to stick with the color, that's fine. Again, I'd like you to reconsider the use of black and white. I do. I think that as a designer, you've got a pretty subtle touch. And that subtlety is not being showed in the branding. I talked for a second ago about removing the name and using this alone, and this is strong enough to stand on its own. And I would like to use this on some pages in the portfolio, and I'll talk about that in a second. Okay, but let's get back to the letterhead. If this is your letterhead, okay, your resume should be designed on your letterhead. So this letterhead here has your name. This one doesn't. Okay, so that's got to be consistent. Okay. All right, let's move on. This right here should be moved up. The hoodie should move up so it's with your branding. So after this page, go into your hoodie. Okay, then you can jump to your sample sheet. I think that would make more sense. All right, the sample sheet is successful. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, and that's enticing the viewer. And I'm looking at this going, and I'm being honest with you, I'm looking at this going, yeah, I'd like to see more. Absolutely. So this is a very, very successful page. Nice job. Let's move down. Talked about that. Looks great, by the way. It really looks good. If that's the way you Photoshop that in there. Displacement map. Yeah. If that's displacement map, you did a wonderful job. Good job. Okay, Kingdom. K is too big in this poster. It's forcing you to use negative space, which is a good thing because it's a very dynamic piece. But the K is totally stealing the show where it shouldn't be. This is this piece is presumably to feature a typeface. So why is the K stealing the show? Simple fix, reduce the size of the K, leave everything else as is. By reducing the size of the K, you're going to give yourself a little more room at the bottom of the poster. Down there, I'd like you to do something that would be very, very much considered to be a standard practice in showing a typeface design, and that is to show letters like you've done. Show your lowercase as well as your uppercase letters, and show a handful of special characters as well. Okay, and that, I think, will take care of itself. Watch your margins, watch your alignment. I'm going to draw a guide over here. You can see that you're out of alignment in a couple of places. On the left here, on the right, I think the smart place to draw the guide would be to right there, and you are in alignment there, so good job. Don't forget, those margins should be equal, as should the top and bottom margins. This piece is very interesting. I can't quite figure out. I think there's too much eye movement going on, okay? Which meaning there's too many elements. Now, you know what? I'm gonna just hold. I'm gonna pause you for 1 second because I just want to read something. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, did you know these are two different typefaces? They are. Definitely. You definitely want to check those. Those should be the same, as should that. I think this is interesting, nice continuation from here to here. Pretty well balanced, I'd say. I'm not real sure what the apple doesn't seem to fit into this whole composition. That's kind of odd. It's a great illustration. I'm just trying to figure out where it fits in. Like, why is there this juicy apple on this? It just doesn't fit into me. The other thing is I think there's too many visual stops. A poem by John Keats, 1817. I would just use John Keats right there. I don't think you have to say a poem by John. It's taken up a lot of attention, and it's again, it's another visual stop. So I think by removing that, and maybe consider removing the apple, you're really going to stop the amount of movement that's going on in the page. I'm really concerned about the play between this yellow ball and this red ball. Now, as we know, the eye goes to the brightest and shiniest things on the page, which in this case are both the apple and the sun. So my problem is that my eye keeps going boing, boing, and we get this ping pong thing where we should be starting here and going through the composition. We're actually starting here and going back and forth, and I'm just concerned that the other things on the page might be overlooked. I would reconsider the layout of this. I think the illustrations are fantastic. Again, check those consistency of those typefaces. This piece is phenomenal. I think it's so smart for you to show an elective in action, so to speak. So this is wonderful. You're showing pretty good typography here, but one thing I'd like you to notice is that your left margin is out of alignment. I'm going to draw a guide right there, and you can see that this whole type here falling over that left margin, which is really dragging the page to the left. I think once you align that, you'll find that this page will really come together. Okay, good. That's a wonderful piece. Okay, portfolio templates is, I'm going to stop right now, and I'm going to probably create another video because I think my videos are getting to be too long. So I think let's do that. And I want to talk about that portfolio, showing some examples. If you have any questions about what I've said about design, please feel free to get with me. You know I'm here, and pretty much available at any time, Sam. So, all right, I'll see you in video number 2, so to speak. Thanks.